I am using another Tilda pattern for this month's mini quilt challenge, specifically these two blocks, this flower block and the leaf block. And they're both free. I'll leave a link for them in the description of this video. And this month when I was picking fabric, I wanted to do something a little bit different, so I'm going to be using this navy as a background. Then this white is the flower, this is the middle of the flower, and then these are the leaves and stem. It's been a while since I've done a nice dark background, and I was feeling like I wanted to do that today. So here's hoping it works. Now, I would personally say that these are two very simple patterns, but there is a lot of cutting that I'm going to need to do. And I think I counted something like 51 pieces that I need to cut. So it'll take me a minute to get everything ready. But I also wanted to point out that I am going to completely omit this bar right here because I want the flower to sit directly on top of this leaf block and not have a gap. So I'm going to omit that one. And then I also wanted to show how I sort of organize the fabrics in my head. So for the background, the most complicated piece of cutting that I have to do, and I don't want to forget or skip any of these pieces, I circled all of the background and I counted how many of each piece that I will need. So it's easy to keep everything in order when it comes to cutting. And I did the same thing for the leaf block here. And because there are so many background pieces, I made a cutting guide to really keep everything in order. Okay, that took a while because I am a slow cutter and that was a lot of pieces. But I am all done. There's a lot of very small pieces and there are some weird rectangles that I need to keep an eye on. So they're the same, is it the same height, but a like slightly different width. So I need to watch that so I don't get things aligned improperly. This is another rectangle here I need to keep an eye on. And I think I have one over here somewhere too. So from here, I need to get a little bit more organized. Everything that has an F in front of it is for the flower block, and everything that has an L in front of it is for the leaf block. So I'm just going to separate them into the two blocks, and then I can get started sewing. Okay, so there are obviously more pieces for the flower block than the leaf block, so I'm going to start with the leaves and get this out of the way, and then I can move on to the more fiddly stuff. So for the leaf block, there are a couple squares with sew and flip corners, and then basically it's all sashing. So this should work up really quickly. So here I have my 4 A pieces, and then I need, let's see, the B pieces right here. And I'm going to need to mark a diagonal on the backs of each of these. And because the background is so dark, I'm going to be using this pink sew line pencil to do all my marking. Then each A block will get 2 of the B blocks, and I'm going to place them in opposite corners. So diagonally, I don't want to put them on the same side. Sometimes I'll add an extra line on the back of these so I can get a bonus half square triangle out of this extra fabric, but I'm not too big of a fan of the green and the blue. In this mini quilt, it's going to serve a purpose, but I don't want a bunch of extra green and blue half square triangles, so I am going to be using the Elmer's glue stick instead, just to keep things nice and tidy while I'm moving stuff around and sewing. And I put it in the corner that will be cut away. Make sure it is nice and stuck down, and I'll do it on the other corner too. So I can take all of these to the sewing machine in like a minute or two, just to give the glue some time to dry a little bit. Normally I sew just a little bit to the side of the line, but because this camera is in front of my face, I'm not sure if I'm actually making it where I want it to go. So I'm just going to chain stitch all of these, and then I can take them over to my pressing station. Because I'm not going to have to match any points or seams or anything with these blocks, I can press them however I feel most comfortable. And recently I've been pressing my seams open a lot, but I think today I'm just going to tuck them under like this. They're nice and neat this way, but they also push the leaf shape up a little bit, I think. If I were to press the background like this towards the dark, then you get a little bit of a raised edge towards the background, and it makes the background come out more. In my opinion, that's what I have noticed in the past anyway. I'm not going to press too much because lately this iron has been scorching things really easily. So I'm going to stop there, move it aside, and do another one. And I do like to trim after I press just because I like the extra stability of that fabric back there. It makes it feel like it's harder to press things out of shape. And that might all be in my head, but it has worked out for me so far, so I'm sticking with it. Here are my AB units, and I already trimmed off all of the extra fabric, and now I need to sort of get a feel for how they're gonna sit in the block. So one side is gonna be facing off that way, and the other is gonna be the mirror image. And now I just have to get a bunch of sort of sashing strips situated, and I'm gonna start with my C pieces. So they are gonna go on the bottom of my lower leaves here, and on the top of the upper leaves, like this. It literally couldn't be more simple, so I'm going to go sew those really quick. So at this point, they should be looking like this, and now I just need to rearrange them so they're in the right order. Now I'm going to add the D pieces in between these blocks, so I'll go ahead and sew them to the bottom first, like this, and then I can come back and quickly sew them to the top units. And I've just been pressing everything to the dark for now, because again, I don't need to match anything up, so it's really nice. I just press however I want. Now, from here, I'm going to add the side sashing, and they're just going to go on the outer side of the leaf pieces. And I also realized that I cut this stem piece way too large. I did it the same size as these outside pieces, and this is only supposed to be 1 inch wide, not 2.5 inches wide, so I need to cut this down. And then I will put that in the very center of all of this. So for these longer pieces, because I don't pin, I do like to use a little bit of glue, really lightly, little dots along the edge. And I love this nozzle because you can get really precise, but every once in a while it will get clogged, so I have to use warm water and a nice long needle to clean out the clog. And then it works brand new again, but then, a couple weeks later, I have to do it again. So I definitely recommend these glue tips, but they do take a little bit of maintenance, and I think that's fine. So I'm just going to do some little dots, especially at the corners and in the middle. So I sort of go split the difference, and then that is plenty. You could do more if you want, but that is plenty for me. And then I'll just line it up and use my iron to set it. This does make it just a tiny bit harder to press your seams open. You just have to have that extra step of popping all of the glue open. But so that will be enough. And I do this because when I have these longer seams, it'll start out good, but then all of a sudden I have way too much fabric on top and it overhangs oddly at the end, and things just sort of get stretched in an unnatural way. So this really helps keep things clean. And because I am glue basting, I can also just add this right now too. So I'll do the same thing for this unit, which I did trim down to 1 inch. So I do the corners, split the difference, Try to stay within your seam allowance to make your life easier. I just nudge it gently into place and iron it. So I'll do this last edge and then I can get sewing. So there is the leaf block done. It was so simple, and these two greens are really popping off of the navy, which is what I was hoping for. So it's time to kick it up a notch and move on to the flower. So for my flower block, I'm going to start out just like I did with the leaf block, and that is with all of my sew and flip corners. So each petal is going to get an F piece in both corners, like this. They're two slightly different sizes, but they have the same corner pieces. So their sew and flip corners are going to be on the same side. The B pieces are going to get the C from the background color, and they're going to be on opposite corners, like that. And then the H piece, which is going to be in the middle of the flower, is going to get an F in the petal color on each of the 4 corners. So it will look like that. I'm going to sew them and press them and trim them all exactly like I did with the leaf units, and then I will show you what I do from there. Okay, I forgot and I almost messed this up. The B pieces are not squares. They are very, very slight rectangles. I think there's like a quarter inch difference between the long side and the short side. So I have to do 2 like this and then 2 as the mirror image like that. I can't just do them all exactly the same and hope everything works out. Okay, so all of the sew and flip corners are sewn, pressed, and trimmed. So those are the little leaves, here are the petals, and then here's the center. And right now I can set aside the center and the petals for later. Wait a second, I think I just saw a problem. This is supposed to fit on here, and I have, look at that, like close to 1/2 inch extra. So I need to figure out which one I cut wrong, and then I need to fix that. Now look at my cutting guide here. The center is supposed to be 5 by 4.5. So I've got 4.5 by 5.5. Okay, so I need to pick out 2 of these and then trim and then restitch, which is annoying, but I will do that. But for now, I'm going to focus on finishing my leaf blocks. So let me get them in the right order. Like this, okay. Then I need my D and A pieces. The D's are gonna go on the outside of each of these little tiny leaves. On each one, like this. And then the A pieces are going to go on top of the top units and on the bottom of the bottom units. So I'll go ahead and sew these off camera. These little leaves worked up really quickly. All 4 of them are done, and I fixed the center off camera. It's looking much better, and now I'm ready to put everything together. So here's my center. The G piece goes on the top and the bottom, and the E unit goes on both sides like this. And then I need to place each of the leaves so that they are oriented in the right direction, all pointing away from the flower. So they'll look like, whoops, like this. So all of this is going to come together in a very simple 9 patch. Also these all together, also these together, and also the center ones together. Now at this point I do need to be a little bit more purposeful about how I press my seams, because for the first time in this project I'm going to be matching seams. Let's see. I think I'm going to press away from the petals. No. Okay, I'm going to press these ones towards the petals, and I'll press the sides in the opposite direction. Okay, so for your sake and mine, I am going to skip ahead to this being all put together, all neat and tidy. It's looking good. It's almost done. Just a couple more seams. So I have my eye pieces. They're going to go on the short sides here and here. And then I have my J piece, and it is going to go at the top. After these 3 seams are sewn, I can sew my finished flower block to my leaf block, and then I will have my finished mini quilt top. And you know what? Let's just skip ahead to that. Let's get to the good stuff. I am really enjoying this dark background with these colors because they just sort of just pop right off of that background really nicely. And the white petals, they make me think of moon gardens. You know how the petals just kind of glow in the moonlight. So I'm pleased with how this turned out. The pattern was quick and easy, and as always, I just love Tilda's designs. I'm probably going to make a couple more of her patterns this year, actually, just because I enjoy them so much. So anyway, I'll see you again next week. Thanks for spending time with me today, quilters. If you want to support this channel and help me buy supplies and materials for future videos, please visit my Buy Me a Coffee page linked in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss upcoming videos. And I'll see you again real soon. Bye!